Welcome to a pcsquared.com.au video. I'm Philip. Today I'm going to look at graphical user interface and look at the elements and features of designing a good interface for a user. Here's an example of an interface where you have a whole range of elements. In this case it's a Windows-based design, but many of these elements could easily be applied for a web-based design. The features and elements we're going to look at for a graphical user interface are many. Some of the major features we're going to look at include the idea of consistency, and that involves having a similar layout and location of your design so the user doesn't have to learn how to use your program every time they look at another interface. They know where elements are going to be placed. Next thing is functionality. What actually does the interface do? What are its capacities and what's available for the user to use in your program? And last we're going to look at is a feature is the navigation of your interface. How do you move around the interface? And that also involves the consistency in regards to where those elements are placed, how it can do it, and it looks at using your mouse for buttons and using things like keyboard shortcuts. The elements we're going to look at that you can include in a graphical user interface includes radio buttons and list box. So looking at a radio button where you have a choice and you can only choose one of those choices at a time, or you're using list boxes where you have a drop-down menu and you can choose from that list box. So rather than the user having to enter in element, they choose it from a list box. The other one you can do is checkboxes as well, where you can select from a range of options. Next thing is you need to be able to separate out different elements and components on your interface design. And that's best done by use of borders and white space. And what that does is allow you to group related elements and separate those out so you know those related components are all together. So putting borders around some components or leaving lots of spaces around some inputs enables the user to see how they relate to each other. The other one you do is provide instructions to the user, and those can be built into your graphical user interface. So what that should enable the user to do is effectively know what they have to enter or use in your program through the instructions you build into your interface. With all these elements, what you're trying to design is an inclusive design. So trying to design an interface that enables all users to effectively use your program. So an example is color and being aware of color blindness, language appropriateness, and also about developing interfaces that people who are blind can interface with your design and their readers can actually work with it. Some other elements and features is using appropriate color, legibility of text, and that's really about having text which is easy to read on the screen. So looking at size, color, the font type, whether it's serif or sans serif. So serif is the ones with feet on the bottom, and sans serif without feet is the ones without feet. So knowing which is the most appropriate for an interface, which is easiest to use. Looking at industry standards. So if you're designing something for a Windows environment or for the internet, each of those designs follow industry standards and practices. Another example is graying out options. So if something's not available, you don't remove it from the interface, you grey it out so the user can't at that time use it, but the next time through they may be able to. And using things like alignment. So aligning left, right or center so that the users can actually understand what inputs are related. The last thing you do is you need to be able to evaluate a graphical graphical interface you design. So you have to make sure that does it meet the end user's requirements? Is it easy and intuitive use? Is it aesthetically pleasing, effective? Is it consistent between all the designs? Get feedback from the users to actually check that what you've created is easy to use, and have effective error handling that provides really clear feedback to the user about errors they have. So here's an example of a graphical user interface. So some of the elements and features we have here is graphics, having headings up here. We have alignment. So we have a number of examples of alignment here. We have the use of borders to separate out different elements. We have in here two elements here. We have grayed out, so the users can't actually put anything in here at the moment, and we have a drop-down list. We have a range of boxes for choices, and we have radio buttons. We have your menu buttons here, OK and cancel, and being aware of which side they are most appropriate to be on, and that depends on the standard which you're following. So here's a range of elements that can be used in interface design. The task that you now have to do is, here's a very poorly designed interface. What you need to do is redesign it and then actually create the interface either as a web-based design or a graphical user interface for Windows. Good luck.